Hello, Steve White, Trekway89 for Steve Arts89. Well, I just watched Star Trek Discovery Season 5, Episode 1, Red Directive on YouTube. What a great way to spend a Saturday night, but this is where we are. It wasn't as bad as the criticisms that I've heard. Some from stans and some from haters, both which surprised me. Now, I'll get through the criticisms first, and a couple I have myself. The main criticism that I was hearing from stans was that the action scenes and effects weren't staged very well and were very cheap looking, and a lot of describing what happens instead of actually showing it. I didn't find that at all to be true. I don't know where they got that from. Now, the land speeder race, there's a lot of dialogue, which they probably could have just not written. That was hard to be sort of staged and directed, but I thought it was fine. I don't quite know what they're on about. Now, there's a scene where Burnham falls out of the bottom of a hole in a ship, and of course her magic 31st century space technology puts a spacesuit on her so she doesn't die, but she doesn't get injured. And then that spacesuited Burnham tumbling towards Luck and Mole's ship looks totally fake. It looks like early 1990s CGI. It's really bad. But then the rest of the sequence where she's on the ship going at warp inside the bubble, which looks a lot like some of the promotion for Star Trek The Motion Picture, which I actually really liked. So yeah, I didn't really get the criticisms the stans were giving the show for the staging of the action, and I don't think the episode overall looked cheap or anything, so I don't know where that came from. There are some tropes that Discovery has fallen into that they lean into again, where they really should have just looked at the criticism and avoided. But Burnham saves the day in this early scene, of course. Now, I was really excited when some other crew members beamed down with her, because I saw Patrick Kwok-Choon mentioning, on Twitter, the episode and all that, and I actually asked him, do you actually get to do anything in this episode, or are you just standing around looking pretty as usual? And he actually got to beam down onto the away mission, but then he's incapacitated in about a minute, and Burnham takes over and saves the day. So I'm like, really, do we still have to have Space Jesus? Can we not just let the other crew members have some scenes and some action, the ones that are left? And the other main criticism the show was getting from haters was the stupidity of crashing the spaceships into the desert, the starships into the desert. I'm like, they didn't actually do that. They used the shields, and they sort of dug themselves in at a 45-degree angle to stop this avalanche from destroying the settlement. Now, did they need to dig the ships in? No, they could have just landed them and they would have been high enough to stop the avalanche. But they dug them in. I guess they dug them in because that would give them an excuse for not chasing after Luck and Mole, when really they should have been able to pull out and go after them. But I think the problem with being in the 31st century is they've written them into a situation where the technology can solve every problem and should be able to. So they have to write really complicated scenes so they can actually have some action, because otherwise it would just be, we'll solve a tech problem, a magic 31st century tech problem. So yeah, so they did that. So there's a little bit of criticism there, but the overall criticism that they crashed the ships into the desert and that starships couldn't handle that sort of thing. These are 31st century starships with 31st century shields and 31st century magic technology, so there's no reason they couldn't do that. I just don't think it was necessary. They could have just landed in front of the station and protected it with the shields. So yeah. And the other criticism which I found, Discovery is very much about diversity and female representation, which is fine. The sexist idea that mostly males would go into Starfleet and the other Starfleet crews were mostly male, I get wanting to fix that by bringing in more women, but at most 50%. In this episode, I was very well aware of the fact that the whole bridge crew, aside from Saru, who is of course an alien, and Rai's character was all female, and the fact that the only male they allowed to remain was an Asian male, I think is very, very sexist and racist. There is a stereotype that Asian men are less masculine and thereby less threatening to women, so I think subconsciously whoever was writing that scene and sort of populating the bridge allowed him to stay because of their own maybe subconscious prejudice and stereotyping, which I thought was pretty offensive. As a gay man who's dated many Asian men and slept with many Asian men, they are no less masculine than any other race of men. So the idea that they want to populate the bridge of women and they let the one sort of token male be an Asian male is just really offensive, I think. I don't think I'm reading into that. I think that was somebody's subconscious racism there that they're apparently not aware of. But yeah, so getting into the actual episode, because I mean, that's a trope they don't need to fall on anymore. I mean, all we need is 50% of women. You know, we don't need to see a whole female bridge crew to see that women can handle a situation just as well as men. It was just really cringe. So yeah, so the actual episode, the actual story. Okay, so we have the Discovery crew hobnobbing at some Starfleet function. David Cronenberg shows up, gives Burnham the red directive, steals them all away to go off on a mission. The episode starts actually when she's on the ship at warp, and then it goes 4 hours earlier, and they go to that scene, and then it unfolds, of course, where she ends up saving the day, of course. Now, the ship is being manned by another captain, of course. There's 2 ships, and he has Luck and Mull's ship in a tractor beam because they had found this Romulan vessel, which they're basically scavengers, which had the progenitors tech there and had been sort of kept safe there by, I think, the character and actor from the Chase episode. I think they brought the actor back. He died there. He stayed there for years, apparently hiding the ship, and died on the ship, and his body was there. They find this MacGuffin, and that's what the crew beams down to save before they're incapacitated, and Burnham saves the day by saving the ship, because if the ship had been destroyed by the other ship's tractor beam in the warp issues when they were crashing the warp drive, they would have destroyed the tech as well. So she sort of saved the day from this reckless sort of man who's mansplaining to her the whole time, which is another trope, which of course they use. The only other white male in the episode, predominant white male in the episode, is an a-hole captain who keeps mansplaining and being reckless, and Burnham has to keep bringing him back to his senses, which is very sexist, I think, to men when that's the only type of male that you portray in the show, which so far that's all we've seen. He's like Todd Stashwick level, like, you know, a-hole, like his face is just really kickable, and I hate Todd Stashwick on it like every level. So he's like just as bad as, you know, that character from Picard season 3, even worse. So, okay, so they escape, they send off multiple warp trails so they can't follow them, they bring in Book to work out where they went, they go to that planet, they find this encampment, they find Luck and Mull run, they chase them on the speeders, they're trying to go through caves in a planet to escape, they've got a detonation there, a charge there to detonate to stop them being followed. To stop that, the captain of the other ship shoots down to the planet, onto the mountain, actually collapses their escape route, but then they set off the charge, which sets off the avalanche that they have to stop, and they do get away again for no, it doesn't make any sense, like there's no reason why they wouldn't be able to follow them, but like I said, they sort of staged a reason. And then Michael Burnham and Book sit and talk about their relationship, and, you know, should they basically continue, since they didn't talk to each other, now they are, and it looks like they're going to pursue their relationship again. And another criticism that Discovery got from Doomcock and people like that is that, of course, you know, the action stops so they can sit and talk and have emotional scenes. That didn't happen. They didn't stop any action. They waited till the mission was over and then they had a conversation. Now, the other good moments from the episode were, probably the highlight of the episode is Drunk Tilly, before she is enlisted by Burnham to get information about the progenitor tech and the red directive, because they weren't in the loop, and nor was the Admiral from last season, and he caught Tilly but let her finish so they could actually look at the information and sort of be in the loop as well. That was a good scene. And the other thing was, what was the other good part about the episode? Saru and the Vulcan, their little romance. Saru is so cute, trying to negotiate this with her because he doesn't have a lot of experience, and she's very Vulcan, although she does make a joke about mind melds, which seemed out of place, but then she went straight into applying logic to their relationship and his career decisions, because being offered an ambassadorial role, and he's taking that. He wasn't sure, but he decided to take that so he can be with her, because when they went through this mission, life-threatening mission, he could only think of her, and he said, I want to be with you. So She proposes to him. They're going to have a marriage. And actually, Kolber and Stamets actually do establish that they are married because there is a reference to, well, you married a pack rat. So, yep. So that's the episode. It was okay. They doubled down on the usual Discovery things, which I guess we're kind of numb to at this point, but they're worthy of criticism. But a lot of the criticisms the show got from both stans and haters seemed exaggerated and not true. The haters seem to just have to make stuff up to trash Discovery, and you don't really need to make stuff up to criticize Discovery genuinely. So I'm going to leave it there. I think I covered everything. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Oh, Fred, his wig was ridiculous. And why they have a Sung android from that long ago, I thought the point was not to make Sung androids because then it made Data into a slave class. I hope they explain that later. Don't know where that's going, but I'm going to go.